Ready when you are, Mr. DeMille.
Okay.
Good evening. This is the work session, Northfield City Council, November 15th of 2022. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, in the Press of Atlantic City on January 8th of this year. May I have the flag salute led by Council President Pro Tem Ruiz, please?
All rise. Salute, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated.
Roll call. Mrs. Pucci?
Here.
Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mr. Leeds?
Here.
Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Ott?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here.
And Mr. Chow. Mr. President?
Thank you. As you can see, we have a presentation tonight. So, Mr. Haas, I'll hand the floor to you.
I'll give you a thumbs up for getting the last name correct. It's a very, very tough name. Everybody usually throws a whole bunch of extra letters in there, and it's like, yeah, just keep it
You have the extra letters.
simple. Yeah, I do, but they're silent.
Yes.
So I apologize, I don't have an actual presentation to go over. Again, my name is Joe Haas. I'm with Planet Networks. Planet Networks is an internet service provider that's been operating up in North Jersey for in excess, well, right around 30 years. So as part of our expansion progress, we decided we wanted to open up shop down here in Atlantic County because there's a definite market need for reliable, faster internet. As I'm sure you guys know, your only competition that you really have, they've been around for a while, and, well, you know what you have.
Right.
So part of the process for us to bring internet into the residence is like everything else, permits. So one of the things that we're required by law is to have a right-of-way consent from the municipalities that we're working in. So I believe I sent that over, or our assistant sent that over to Mary, if I'm not mistaken, it was last week, which is just a sample boilerplate resolution, basically giving us permission to use the right-of-ways. So when we attach fiber optic cables to the utility poles, we have to get permission from the companies that own the poles, which is great. That's easy enough for us to do. It takes time like everything else. But then the lines actually traverse over the actual right-of-way, which the municipalities own. So hence why we have to have permission to come in and say, yes, you guys can use our space and do whatever you need to do running these lines. Basically, it's a very simple operation. You guys can pass it with just a simple resolution, which was provided. You can request from us a rider for insurance to list the township and the towns, whoever, as additionally insured. If there's any, just say we have to disturb the ground for anything, we need to put a utility pole in. And if we have to get a permit, then we work with the township, the cities, whatever, to get the permits in place. We're responsible for any of the restoration to the grounds if we disturb anything. So basically, it sort of covers everybody, so there's never any confusion, 6 months from now if something shows up and it's like, hey, we knew nothing about it, at least everybody's on the same page. So again, it's a pretty standard boilerplate thing. Mary has my contact info, so if there's any questions that are needed with anything, please do not hesitate to reach out directly to myself. South Jersey, I'm not a local guy, I'm Cumberland County, so I'm one over. But I'll tell you, so far, everybody out here in Atlantic County has been fantastic to work with. So we're excited. We're starting out in Egg Harbor Township. Egg Harbor Township is a very unique city, and a lot of people don't realize that the secondary fiber feeds that feed all of Atlantic City actually come through Egg Harbor Township. So we chose to start over there, and then we're branching out. So working out this way would actually be probably around the second town that we'll be working in. So we're in the beginning phases where we have to get everything lined up, and then once everything's lined up, we're gonna start running fiber directly to people's homes and give everybody a much better alternative.
When would you be up and running?
So again, it all comes down to permitting. So ideally, we'd be looking late winter into the spring to get things up and running, but it is dependent upon so many different variables. The actual running of the fiber is like any other construction project. That's the simplest, easiest, and fastest part. We can run a mile of fiber a day with one crew. So we can come into a town and knock a town out in a week, no problem. But it's everything planning and leading up to that process is what just takes. Hate to say it, everything moves at the speed of government, unfortunately.
Is that something you do, just a couple main lines through town, and then as people sign up, you branch down?
No, so we do everything all in one step. So we'll do the main, and then we'll do the secondaries that can actually connect directly to people's houses. So we'll put the secondary equipment in place, otherwise we're just paying additional labor costs for, and then we're tying the roads up and all that fun stuff. So the added cost for us to do it all at once isn't that big of a deal. And then as customers sign up, then we'll come back and do the physical connection from the house directly to the pole.
Yeah, can you characterize the enhancements that this would bring to the residents for the city?
So there's two massive enhancements. One is the upload and download speed. As you know, with cable internet providers, your download speed, you'll see some crazy 900 megabit number, but then the actual amount that you can upload at one time is relatively small. It's 35, 25 megs, which for a long time has been fantastic. But as everybody's seen with COVID and everybody working from home, you get two people trying to do a video conference, or you try and do any type of large file upload, or heaven forbid your kid has a new Xbox game and, well, there goes your internet feed. So with our fiber service, we're symmetrical. The same that you can download is the same that you can go upload. So right now, our plans that we currently have go 1 gigabit down and 1 gigabit up, which you'll see is massively faster than what you can get through cable. But we're actually contemplating on bringing even faster speeds in directly to the customer's houses. And then there's also the reliability aspect of things. The way our networks are designed, it operates off of a completely different technology. It's not some 30-year-old cable that's been hanging on a pole through every single hurricane and tropical storm. Everything we have is brand new and state-of-the-art. So in fact, this is our company's CEO, Robert Boyle, just happened to come right on in. So he can answer any questions as well. Anything else?
Are you a service provider?
We're an internet service provider.
Okay, what's the name of your company?
Planet Networks?
You don't, these lines you don't share with anybody, do you? Like, either,
And we install all our own.
all your own lines?
Yeah.
So if another company came in, they would have to put their own lines in?
Yeah, that's the way it works with every.
Yeah, that's how, okay.
Any other questions?
Any questions about the sample resolution that was sent over?
And I had one other question. So when you're in the right of way, so you'll provide, I guess, traffic control,
Yeah, if
a
it's
traffic
needed.
plan, will that be included with your
Yes, so if
presenta-
if the scope of work that we're working on at that particular time calls for it, then yes, we will take care of that.
Okay,
So if it's on the state highway, then we do, everything we do is according to the DMVTCD, but of the New Jersey edition. So, if it's DOT, we have crash truck, we have, police that's going through signal intersection, all those types of things. We have 3 TCCs on staff, and that's a traffic control coordinator who, familiar
Okay.
with all of us. So, and we have flaggers on staff, so all of our crews have, the work, the team that's actually doing the work, and then we have certified flaggers with them at all times. So they're always doing that. Now, if they're on the end, little narrow dead end road that day, and we've got another crew doing something on, on a state highway, then the flaggers are gonna go over there, and, we don't need to necessarily have somebody, 25
On a side
mile
street,
road,
yes.
so, a
Yeah.
side street, so. But we work very closely with, with DOT and with county and also with the local police, depending on what needs to be done. And, we've never, never had any incidents, never had anything with safety, and, we're also, held in very high regard by DOT in New Jersey, because we do things right. We don't, stick out one cone and, kind of say, that's good enough. No, we do things right, because we want to keep our people safe and keep the public safe, so.
and what was your name again for the record?
Robert Boyle.
Robert, you got it? She's quick.
She's quick to respond to emails.
She doesn't miss anything, okay. And how long has your company been?
So we started in 1994, and we're a New Jersey-based company. We incorporated in 96, so if you look it up, it says, but it was sold proprietorship in the beginning, so.
Okay. Any other questions? is our city engineer.
How would you deal with the underground, like development on any wall?
Yeah, so we do underground work. It takes a lot longer, it's a lot more expensive. So typically what we'll do is we'll do all the aerial stuff first, and then once the aerial's done, we'll go back and we'll do the underground neighborhoods.
They're gonna be trenching?
Yeah, so depends on where it is. So sometimes we plow, sometimes we open up a trench, sometimes we use a missile, sometimes we use a directional drill. And we have all that equipment. It all kind of depends on what makes the most sense. Down here, luckily, the sand, the ground is very soft, so we can plow, where we can't do that in very rocky areas, so.
You did have to coordinate with the municipality for street opening funds when that.
If we open the street, so a lot of times, a lot of times we try to keep stuff in the right of way. Once in a while, we'll have to cross, but if it's in a lot of neighborhoods, you have to go down both sides of the road anyway, so we'll just kind of loop around the whole outside, and it's very, and unless you have like an island in the middle, we don't have to do a crossing. If we do have to do a crossing there, sometimes we'll cut the road, but a lot of times we'll do a missile, but if there's, gas and water and whatever, then we have to vacuum excavate that stuff anyway. It's easier just to cut the road rather than put potholes in to find the utilities.
But in our code that even if you open the shoulder, you would require a street opening permit so we can monitor it.
Okay, yeah, and we do whatever each municipality requires, so.
I just want to give you a heads up.
Okay, good, thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, 'cause that is unusual, so you don't have to do that in most towns, so.
So have you worked with the vibratory plow for permitting before? So I ran into this issue in Cumberland County where, the road opening permits are based off the square footage. Well, the vibratory plow, it cuts the trench, it's only a half inch wide. So there was a lot of confusion, well, how many half inches are in a square foot? And it went, the permits ranged from $3,000 and then somehow they ended up being $2 by the time we were done.
No, we have a minimum
Okay.
simple plan.
All right.
Yeah, we're only with the paving, the square footage deal with paving, not,
Okay, perfect.
Got it, okay, yeah, and we want to make sure that we hit all those underground neighborhoods as well, because, they deserve good service as well. It's just, it's a much different process and takes a lot longer. And we install handholds, which is like a little plastic box or concrete box, depending where it is. If a truck if it's on a corner and a truck might cut across it at some point and drive over it, then we have to put a heavy duty, tier 20 box in that a truck or trailer can drive over. If it's just like in somebody's front lawn, we can afford a lawnmower, then it'll be a smaller little plastic box. And then that goes in as we go along, so we can run the, fiber from somebody's house to that box, and then go through the conduit that goes through the neighborhood. Any
Okay.
questions, or-
And all those boxes are if they're on someone's lawn, what do
They're in the
you
right
contact, they're in the right of way,
In the
okay.
right way, yeah. But first, before we start construction, especially in the underground neighborhood, we put door hangers up. The door hangers say, hey, we're Planet Networks, we're a fiber internet company, we're going to be performing work in your neighborhood. Click on this link or go to this URL to, watch a video to see exactly what we're going to do and what you can expect, and it has contact information on there in case anyone has a, and no matter what you do, you try to do the right thing, or sometimes you're in the middle of something and someone says, hey, my lawn is terrible and the grass isn't back here. Like, yeah, well, we close it up for the night, but we're coming back tomorrow, we're gonna open it up again, and then, but we hydro seed everything after we're done, so, that's like, you ever see that, like, green, like cardboard kind of stuff that has grass seed in
Yeah.
it? So it retains the moisture a little better, and we hydro seed everywhere to make sure that it, takes, and we'll come back as many times as we need to make sure that it looks nice when everyone, when we're done. So, I mean, the last thing, we're not a construction company that's just doing this really quickly for the cable company, and then we're going back to Virginia. We want to get that person as a customer, we want them to be happy, so we wanna make sure that, like, there's nothing worse than, like, pissing off the person you want to try to buy your service, so.
Right.
We try to make sure we restore everything and make it right when we're done, so.
I just want to confirm, you said all this place, pedestals will be in the right of way, they won't be on people's property?
Correct.
Okay.
And most of we very rarely ever use pedestals. Almost everything we do is the handholds that are kind of ground level. Just because pedestals, people hit them and, they're kind of ugly, and we try to avoid that if possible, so.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I think,
Got a long time.
all our questions for now have been answered. Thank you.
One of, I have like little
Without it.
visual aids or something, I can show you guys real fast, so. In the aerial neighborhoods, this is one of our little, this is a tap, this serves 8 homes. So this gets hung up on on the cable that goes up on the telephone
Okay.
pole. I mean, it looks big holding in my hand, but when it's up there 20 feet in the air, you don't see it. They're very small, they kind of disappear. But, so this serves 8 homes, and so every 8 homes, there'll be one of these, and then there'll be the fiber, and then every once in a while, there'll be a splice case, which is a box that's a little bit bigger than this that you connect the fiber, because when you run the fiber, it comes on reels, and you have to connect those ends together. So there's a box that's made that's weatherproof that you do that work in. So, and then when we go into a neighborhood, we hand out, these door hangers to let people know services, you know, you guys can these take a look at them and just see.
Yeah, we have a couple, sure.
Just around here.
Thank you.
Can I ask
Thanks.
what is the, as a potential future customer, what's the cost?
It's on the back.
It's right here.
Yeah, and the other
They
thing is
thought of
there's-
that.
there's no hidden fees or, you know, there's, in New Jersey, there's no tax on internet services. So every time if you get, you know, other providers or competitors, you'll see like there's a fee for this and a fee for that, and people are like, oh, all the taxes add up to another $12. There are no taxes, that's just extra profit. And they should just call it extra profit 1, extra profit 2, extra profit 3. We don't do that, so our price is on, you know, the price that's on the flyer, the price that people sign up on the website, that's the price people actually pay. So, which is,
Do you have like a central location where all this,
so we have multiple locations. We have, we're at 165 Halsey in Newark, we're at 800 Cottontail in Somerset. We have a data center in Sparta, we have a data center in Newton, we have a data center in Parsippany. We're buying a piece of property down here, we're gonna build a little pop down here as well. And we're also going to be connecting, we're also 401 North Broad in Philadelphia, so we have like lots of different connectivity. In South Jersey, there isn't a whole lot of, you know, there aren't a whole lot of data centers, they're mostly up in the north, but we have, everywhere we build our own little, we use 20-foot shipping containers typically, and that'll do like a, you know, a radius of like 6 to 8 square miles, or 6 to 8 miles, you know,
Right.
out from there.
so you'll have a data center locally?
Yeah, we'll have something locally, yeah. And plus, we're buying this facility that we're going to, you know, have for our trucks, we're gonna hire people locally, we're gonna have a lot of local jobs that we're gonna create as well.
That was my next question, was in the event of a hurricane or some type of catastrophe, what's the, you know, response to if the connection gets severed or?
Yeah, everyone will be local, so everyone maintaining the network and working on it and building it will all be local. So initially, when we first start, we'll probably send people from North Jersey, but, you know, over time, we'll hire people and train people, and there'll be a local work crew, and, you know, Joe's, what, 40 minutes away?
Yeah, 40 minutes away.
Yeah, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. Councilman Deweese?
Thank you, President. Happy to announce that the steps are completed at the Sport Tower, the football facility. The City Hall front columns have been, pier has been cut, the contractor has been selected, that should start relatively soon. First thing, it's gonna have to go put up some temporary shoring out front for the overhang there, and then take it from there. The next thing is the playground. Equipment at First Grove Park is scheduled to be installed on the 18th of November. It'll probably take about 2 to 3 weeks to complete the project, weather depending, obviously.
That's Friday, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's this Friday?
Thank you. Councilman Utz?
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to go a little off script. Planning Board was fairly quiet this month. The meeting lasted 7 minutes. It was just confirming some resolutions.
Wow.
But as you know, last Tuesday we had an election, and as you all know, I lost. It was a little bit different for me than past losses because this time I had done the job, so it felt more like getting fired. I've never been fired before, so it's inevitable that I would do some reflection after my defeat, and I just wanted to share a few of those reflections. First, I heard under no uncertain terms that our fire department thought that when I tabled the vote on the disgraceful meeting of October 7th, that I don't support the fire company. And nothing could be further from the truth. I, like all residents in our town, are incredibly grateful that our fire department especially our volunteers, risk their personal safety to protect our lives and our property. I don't think there's another group of volunteers in our town that demonstrates that sort of commitment to our town. That said, what happened on October 7th was disgraceful, and although the fire department seemingly laid the blame at my feet, the real blame belongs with whoever put this resolution on the agenda without a chance for analysis, debate, and deliberation. And even worse, someone encouraged the potential employee, his family, and fellow firefighters to come to the meeting to celebrate a resolution that had not been fully vetted. In my 3 years here, I've voted affirmative to every appropriation the fire department has brought to us after careful consideration and deliberation. That's what the residents expect. The resolution to hire a full-time firefighter appeared out of nowhere, and as we now see, after our CFO broke down all the costs for full-time versus part-time firefighter, this decision deserves careful consideration. Add to that Councilman Smith referred to an agreement established before I was on council to go forward with part-timers. Again, this requires careful consideration. We see, for instance, that the cost of a full-time firefighter with over $31,000 for family health benefits that are expected to increase 20% just next year, coupled with 36% contribution next year in the town's required pension payment, not to mention the legacy payments of benefits that continue for the life of the retired employee, that this decision will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars more than hiring several part-time firefighters at less cost. One 40-hour employee versus 60-plus hours of part-timers for less. I ran a small business for many years and always thought my employees deserved more. But I had, as an owner, to balance the cost to my customers with the needs of my employees. Council has the same balancing act to consider. Again, I want to say I fully support our fire department and thank them for the job they do. But our job as council is to do that cost-benefit analysis, especially for a major ongoing expense. Council needs to hear why we should hire a full-time position and how the department will be enhanced. But back to that disgraceful meeting on October 7th that embarrassed firefighters and worse, their families. The blame again should rest with whoever asked them to attend a meeting prior to deliberation and vote. For my part in that embarrassment and hurt, I humbly apologize. Secondly, on a lighter note, I want to congratulate Councilwoman-elect Renee Carfagno. We ran a respectful campaign, and I can say after spending the day with her that I think she'll be a real asset to council. She has a master's degree in Holocaust studies and teaches middle school civics, showing that she has both compassion and intelligence, two attributes that I think will be a true benefit to our town. Plus, she recently became a grandmother, which giving her even more reason to improve our town for the next generation. Congratulations again, Renee, on both life-changing events, and I thank her for a respectful campaign. I hope she finds the work as interesting and as rewarding as I have. I also want to thank Shannon and Robin and Mary and all the poll workers for a really well-run election day. And lastly, Council President, I want to call out an act of political bullying. Now, I know we recently had a president that attempted to normalize bullying, making fun of war heroes, handicapped people, women, and anyone he sees as a threat. Fortunately for our country, people seem to be deciding that this isn't the kind of country we want to have. That makes it even more distressing that political bullying has come to our town. Now, I've been a victim of Councilman Leeds' bullying before when he sat in the gallery and coughed bullshit several times while I was speaking. Immature? Sure. Disrespectful to me and this institution? Absolutely. But it doesn't rise to the level of using our mayor and police force to intimidate a supporter of the other side. This is the stuff of Nazi Germany, Russia, and authoritarian regimes. Shortly after a supporter of mine placed one of my lawn signs in her yard, she received a citation via certified mail. This is a woman we all know who has volunteered countless hours in our town to enrich our culture and our community. The violation? A car parked on the grass, which I see elsewhere in town. The resident, after receiving the citation, called our police chief, who told her that the mayor requested the citation. The resident called the mayor, who stated that Councilman Leeds asked him to request the citation. I know when I asked the mayor to explain the incident that he knew this didn't pass the smell test, but forwarded it to the police without bothering to reach out to the resident, whom he knows well. The real violation here was putting my sign in her yard, and I don't think this is the kind of town we want. Encouraging bullying, as our former U.S. president has done. No, I hope this council, and as Councilman Leeds is president of the Republican Club, that your club makes it clear to Councilman Leeds that political bullying or that any bullying is unacceptable. A few years ago, when Councilman Smith was running, our county club chairman sent out a direct mail piece disparaging Councilman Smith without telling the local club or even the candidate. Even though research shows negative advertising works in politics, I don't think there's a member of our club that didn't reach out to that county chair and tell him, that's not what we do in our town. Several of our members quit over the incident. I'm not asking Councilman Leeds to resign, nor do I expect he would. I've seen him, quite frankly, do some very good work on this council. What I am asking is that Councilman Leeds remember that now, as a duly elected official, he represents the city of Northfield. Not just his party, or even his district, but the whole town. And that this council, and the mayor, and your club, help him check his bullying nature. An apology to the resident would be a good start. And that's all I have, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Lutz.
Sure.
Councilman Notaro.
That's a tough one to follow there, Paul. First, I'd like to just thank Paul for his time and service with the city. You know, you've done a great job over the years, and, you know, you're a good friend of mine. We've been friends for many years, and I'm going to miss you. So, with that said, congratulations to Councilman Leeds and Councilwoman-elect Renee Carfagno, and good job. It was a good election, and congratulations to all of you. I'd like to congratulate the JV and varsity Cardinals also. They had two good wins last week, and they're going to go to the Cape Atlantic Junior Football League Championship. So congratulations to them. Thank you, Greg, for getting taking care of the bleachers at the park for us, and that's much appreciated. Congratulations to the Mainland Mustangs on their win last week. They are also advancing, and they're doing very well this year. I have two daughters cheering there, and it's I'm at every game and starting to really get into football, you know. So, also, at last week's game, that was a Central South Jersey Group 4, the Central South Jersey Group 4 tournament is what they're going to be advancing to, but it was a sectional championship. So we came back into town, and we had a fire escort back to mainland. Many residents came out. It was really nice, and the kids really liked that. So I want to thank the fire department, the police department for that as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Leeds.
The fire report, the fire department responded to 28 incidences last month. The fire department was also awarded a grant for $28,000. They submitted, I think they asked for about 60, and they were awarded 28,000. EMS, there was 80 calls for service, 19 times mutual aid was brought into the city. I'd like to address what Councilman Lutz just said to me. I immediately wrote a list of early on, the mayor and I had a discussion about, I was approached by a gentleman at the Wawa store, and he gave me a list of properties that he felt needed to be repaired or needed to be looked at. So I sent them to the mayor. I did not look up anybody's address, nor do I have any concern with what political affiliation they are. If somebody from the city comes up to me and says that they have issues, I'm going to forward it to the mayor or whoever is responsible for that department, because that's what we're supposed to do, is represent everybody. I had no idea who lived at the address. I didn't bother to look it up. And from what I understand, there was a violation found, and it's been rectified. End of story. There's no bullying. There's no picking on people because of their political affiliations. Quite frankly, I live in a house divided. You know, I'm, as Councilman Hudson indicated, I'm the president of the Republican Club, and my mother's a diehard Democrat. Thankfully, she voted for me this year. But I'm the first Republican she voted for in 40 years, she told me. So, with that being said, if anyone thinks that I'm singling them out, that's not the case.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also wanted to echo some of the thoughts here in terms of the election. I think that the election was well done in the city. I think that both sides handle themselves responsibly and respectfully. And as Mr. Russ referenced a few years back, I appreciate the way that the campaigns were conducted. I want to congratulate Ms. Carfagno, Councilwoman-elect, on her victory, and Mr. Leeds for winning this past election. I also want to congratulate Councilman Utz for the service that he's given to the city. We don't always agree on things, but we respectfully talk about them, and I always appreciate that. And I think you've provided a great service to the city, and I thank you for that. As far as reports, I also want to echo Councilman Tower's comments about the Mainland football team. We have a number of Northfield residents on that football team, so, you know, while we congratulate the entire program, certainly we want to recognize the Northfield residents who are a part of that team and contribute to that success, and wish them well this Sunday as they go for the final, central, regional. It's confusing.
The Central South Jersey Group 4 tournament.
Millville's the South Jersey champ, we're the Central Jersey champ somehow, and they're competing against each other.
And then there's another one after
Yeah,
that.
I'm trying to figure it out, but if they win, they go to the state final, but we want to wish them the best of luck this Sunday as they,
It's a big game.
they go for it at Cherokee High School.
Cherokee High School playing Millville, yeah.
As far as my departments, the one comment I have is regarding shared services. We've been talking about the agreement with, or pursuing a dispatch agreement with Ocean City. We have received some word, unfortunately, from them that they are undergoing some internal changes, some internal improvements that are going to be, they're going to be focused on building a new police department building, and they are not confident that they would be able to provide us the service that we would warrant in the upcoming year. So that's not good news for us, that, you know, there's a possibility we could revisit that in the future once they have their handle on their affairs and get their improvements made. I appreciate the efforts of Chief Prettyman of Ocean City, who put a lot of time and entertained us, provided us with details, and did a lot of legwork. We could tell from our meetings with him that he was serious in his proposals and in his pursuits of this agreement, but it's just not the right time at the moment. Hopefully in the future that might be the case, but we have to turn our attentions elsewhere to see where we might be able to achieve some better results in the dispatch agreement. Hopefully we can pivot and have other opportunities somewhere. But other than that, that's it for me, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bucci.
Thank you, Council President. I also wanted to talk about the election real quick. Congratulations to Eric Lee and to Councilwoman-elect Renee Carfagno, who I've been friends with for a very long time. Well, I'm gonna miss working with you. I've only been working with you for a year, but I really have enjoyed our time working together. So, good luck, with your grandkids and your children. But as I said, I very much enjoyed working with you.
And vacations.
And vacation.
Yes.
Not having to come to meetings all the time. You and I have to talk about something. The Economic Development Commission, we held our first focus group last night. I think I had 12 business representatives that were there. Max Slusher from the Atlantic County Economic Alliance ran that, and he's gonna compile a report to give to me so that we kinda know where our next steps are gonna be. Our regular meeting is tomorrow night at 7 here. As far as the library is concerned, attendance was up. It was 1,094 in September, went to 1,435 in October. They're going through their budget process. They put the final draft on the city maintenance agreement. That's gonna be forwarded over to Mary. I also want to point out that there is a library survey on their website. If anybody would like to complete that, that's very helpful to them when they're planning their programs and things that they're looking to do in the following year. They have 3 relatively new employees that are doing very well. Municipal Alliance, our next event is December 17th at the library at 2 p.m. There's going to be a gingerbread cookie decorating event for the children. The sign up is on the city website. You download the form and bring it into Shannon and Mary. Insurance and safety, my next meeting is the 17th at 10:30. Just a couple other announcements, the Boy Scout tree sale on Burton Avenue starts on 11/25. And also the church, Northfield Church and Nazarene is looking for turkey donations. There's also something on the Facebook about that if you're interested in donating a turkey. And I always like to look at the lounge when I come here because I like to see what people are concerned about. And I'm just gonna throw this out there, not that I know what's gonna happen with it, but, someone had mentioned about the leaf sucking machine that we used to have, that we don't have anymore. I don't know if that's something we could maybe do a shared service with Linwood, or perhaps look into maybe a grant for some type of, I don't know.
Machine?
Environmentally helpful type of machine.
It comes up this time of year every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
But maybe there, maybe there's, I don't know, maybe there's a grant.
It does make
Just throwing
sense.
it out there, people are
But you have
concerned
to
about it,
pay
and,
people to run
you
it,
know,
and
Yeah.
that's staff.
something maybe we could talk about, there's some type of grant available, or, we have.
Well, yeah, it's both the equipment and the staffing to do it.
It's true.
And the problem with sharing it
Mhm.
is that the same thing as the Vector truck, is everybody needs it the same
Same
week.
time, yeah.
But we can continue to look for any, try to think out of the box, but
Just throwing it out there.
it's the annual leaf sucking question.
But you could also look at the Linwood
Yeah.
site to see it with the complaints from the Linwood residents about the leaf sucker.
I don't wanna look at that.
So it's all,
Yeah, there's complaints on both sides of the.
One is 6 and does it on the
Yep.
other,
Yeah,
but as I
right.
said, I just.
No, it would be
I
nice.
just like to look at that, cause, cause we should stay in the pulse of what's going on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
And then was one other thing I would see on here, the Northfield, is it okay if I announce this about the Northfield Police Department participating in the Holiday with Heroes, on December 3rd. These
Oh, nice.
activities will be of Egg Harbor Township and Atlantic County coordinating efforts with law enforcement agency. They hold this every year, and I believe they can make a contribution sheet here, they drop a check here. Made payable to, payable to EHT PAP, I'm sorry, yeah.
yeah,
So,
Shop with a Hero, I think it is now.
yeah, Shop with a Hero. So it costs the program $120 per child, so any donations would be appreciated. And as I said, you can drop them here, I believe, if that's okay, with the police department. So it was a nice turnout last year, I believe.
Yeah,
So,
usually, athletes, they have a full
Yeah,
contingent of, kids they take out on the shopping spree out there, in Walmart,
yeah,
2 years, 5, I remember doing it.
yeah.
And it was always a great turnout.
Yeah, so it's a nice community event, so if anybody wants to donate, just feel free to drop off your check. I don't know if they have a date by, but probably sooner rather than later. So that's about it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. From my committee, I guess I'll address the best practices inventory that we do each year. That's the self-assessment that each municipality is required to do, and we evaluate several areas of compliance with laws, with best practices throughout the state. And depending on how your score goes, you can affect your municipal aid from the state. So we'll start with that. As far as this year, there's 54 questions on the inventory. We scored, or 56 questions, and we scored 34. At 24, below 24, you would start losing aid. So we're well above any point where we'd have to worry about losing any of our municipal aid. Similar to last year, there was the threshold was 15. We were at 22 and a half. So I didn't do the actual calculation. It seems like we're doing a little better as far as meeting some of those and increasing our affirmative responses to the inventory. it is a self-evaluation, and, but I imagine that the honor system is the honor system plus it's
Yeah.
reviewed.
Yeah, you don't wanna lie. They'll
You
know.
can't blatantly lie. I wouldn't think that we would. They look at the capital projects, they look at our financial administration, purchasing. I guess it's similar to what that toolbox was that the municipalities had many years ago under previous governors. But as I said, everybody got a or I didn't say that, but everybody has a copy of that. And if you go through it and look at any of the ones where we didn't score or they're not applicable, maybe that's something we can discuss as we go through next year just to try to always improve and ensure that we don't lose any aid and certainly any of the things that we do are best practices and will be a benefit to the town. And that's all I have from my committee. We'll move on to the work session, the ongoing topics. Any update on the stormwaters? No? The sale of land, those auctions, those are still pending.
Yeah.
We've sent some proposals out.
Waiting for them to come back with their proposal, yeah.
Okay. Do we have anything to discuss on the signs this time, or are we gonna?
No, all that was by line, so now
Okay.
Mary and I will.
Okay, on the joint court, we did receive something back. It seems like they adjusted the cost.
Yeah, it looks like they did adjust the estimates for the budget for next year, that would be in our benefit
Okay.
to bring us more in line with where we are this year. So, yeah, we'll keep our eye on that, that's preliminary, but it did adjust downward to our benefit, so that's a good sign.
Okay. The fire pit ordinance?
Solicitor Basenda and myself went through this today. Still have a few things that we need to go over.
Okay.
Did everybody get copied on this?
Yes.
Mary put up, yeah.
You know,
Mary
maybe,
put copies.
maybe read through it. If there's anything that you see, you know, anything that you think may be good, please reach out to myself or
Okay.
Chris. But we're kind of, with the commercial, just trying to tweak that a little bit, so that's where we're
I
at.
think the issue with the commercial is the way it's drafted right now, it's a bar or restaurant with outside seating approval. I don't know that anybody really has outside seating approval right now. Not to say they couldn't get it without site plan approval,
Mhm.
so,
Little Italy does.
huh?
Little Italy has site plan approval.
They have site plan approval for,
Outside?
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe
not a,
on bar.
You're limiting it to liquor establishments with a liquor license?
Yeah.
There's only two in the whole town, Country Club and Ventura's.
We'll continue.
We'll work
Okay.
on it.
See if it's even working.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Move on to new business. Any additional grant?
Just working on the grant, I'm helping admit with Quinn today to go over a couple of drainage area problem areas in town. And that's what we have them grants to eliminate a couple of the problems. So I'm working on the narrative and the cost that would be included in the grant.
Is that the same grant or not?
It's the same, I think it's the same grant.
Same
It has
one.
to do with this month, the 18th.
Okay. Has anyone, or does anyone have any changes or any discussion on the professional services?
Yes. I'd like to see a little bit more consistency. So over the last 4 years, when the advertisements were there, 2019, the professionals had 31 days, 2020 they had 14 days, 2021 they had 17 days, and 2022 they had 15 days. Can we make it a standard where everybody gets, you know, the same thing every year?
You guys can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, how long, 30 days?
I mean, just something that would be consistent for everybody, because I saw, in 2020, bids were due on a Saturday at 12 noon.
No, they're never due on a Saturday.
November 2nd, 2019, Saturday, the day it was posted, and date, time due, November 16th, 2019, at 12 noon, which was the Saturday.
That's a typo. You can't accept goods on a Saturday, we're not open.
Yeah,
Well, our next item is the reorg. So once we figure out the reorg, then that's when we will be selecting,
yeah, but these are when the bids are due to be reviewed.
well, we gotta back it up. I mean, in order for them to have time to submit them,
Right.
but, well, we're early now. What's the 15th of November, so that they should be going out soon.
I think it changes every year because professional services aren't required to be advertised, and different councils have different opinions on how long they want it to be considered. So certainly this council could do whatever you want, but there is no statutory requirement.
Okay.
Question. Okay, they're not advertised, are they advertised on our website?
Yep, we put the advertisement on the website as well as in the Press of Atlantic City.
Okay, I misunderstood what you said, never mind. I thought you said it
They're
wasn't.
not required.
It's not required.
It's not
Professional-
legislative, but we do it.
This council typically decides to do fair and open. You don't have to, you could just appoint whoever you want. Professional services are exempt from local public contracts law, 4811.5. It's right here, if anybody wants to see it.
What color tab is that?
Orange, probably?
Okay.
So if you're not gonna decide until the 29th, that limits,
It's a bit small.
Right. The 29th of,
well, the next meeting is the 29th. I have a 4-day lead time with the press, so if you guys decide the 29th, it's gonna run the following Saturday.
right. So if we have are there any changes or discussion on the actual criteria other than, okay. So then we can advertise so that we can have it out to the professionals as soon as possible?
Right now, I'm slated to run it the 19th, but you can change that.
The 19th should be, and then we wouldn't be selecting until January.
Typically, the professionals are selected at reorg, so you just need to decide what date you want
Okay,
the
so-
proposals returned.
Okay, so it goes out the 19th, perfect.
So,
Okay.
so were we saying that we end it or close it on December 16th, let's say, or Friday, the 16th? Is that what we need to decide that? correct?
I
30
have to give
days.
them a date.
Yeah.
When's we only have one council meeting in December, right?
13th.
Correct, that's the 13th.
So should we say December 9th?
I don't think they typically get chosen.
Yeah.
But they don't get chosen until reorg,
Okay,
January.
it's in January.
Yeah, so it could be later than that.
yeah, no, I just want to make sure in case there was any questions that we answered.
I was selecting a date that's approximately 30 days and is
Yeah.
before the Christmas rush.
Yeah.
So that's why I said the 16th, but I was just throwing that date out there.
I think that's a good date.
That's almost a month, okay.
November 19th to December 16th.
So we're going with the proposals are due December 19th, or is that, was it
16th.
16th?
16th.
And no changes to the,
That's 4 weeks, so.
okay. Reorg? So does January 3rd work, Mary?
So
Or is
reorg
it typically,
by statute has to be either noon on the 1st or any other day within the first 7 calendar days. So typically you guys have Tuesday meetings, so,
Tuesday the 3rd?
okay? Reorg is typically at 7 because there's no work session, but you don't have to do it at 7, you could do it at 6. But depends on people's availability.
I have a hair appointment at 6.
You should be here by 6:01?
6 is good.
60, we'll begin at 6:01.
Bye, guys.
Okay, 7 o'clock, we'll, 7 o'clock reorg then?
So,
6.
Or 6?
oh wait, backspace.
Or we typically do it at 7, but we can,
Historically, it's at 7, but that's,
We can do
like,
it.
that's the old, just because you've always done it that way, you can literally do whatever you want. The
Awesome.
time is not
Let's
set
do
by
it,
statute.
okay. 6 o'clock on the 3rd then. All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
so RFPs for professional services are due the 16th. Reorg is Tuesday, January 3rd at 6 PM,
Yes,
correct? Thank you.
thank you. Okay, at this time, can everybody please refer to the agenda? Approval of the minutes, Councilwoman Bucci, Councilman Smith. Resolutions, I ask that we do 203 separately. And are there any others that anyone would like removed from the consent agenda?
210.
210? Okay. All right,
Are
so,
we gonna discuss these, later, Tom, or we'll do it now?
we'll do it right after, yeah, we'll do it right after the,
Public session.
right after the assigning. Okay, so Resolution 203, Councilman Utz and Councilman Deweese. Resolution 210, Councilman Utz and Councilman Deweese. And the consent agenda for 204 through 209 and 211 and 212, Councilman Smith and Councilwoman Bucci. Ordinance 12, Councilman Leeds and Councilman
Who's that, Tom?
Councilman Leeds for ordinance 12, and Councilman Notaro. Payment of bills, Councilman Deweese, Councilman Utz, and meeting notices, Councilman Utz. Okay, the discussion on the resolutions?
The 203, for your, that is dealing with just a flat roof over the fire department, just so everybody knows, it's not the entire roof over the building, it's just a flat. I had a conversation with Rami, and I thank him for his input. That it was better to have an architect or a professional look at that particular roof, because there's a specific way that has to be done. You have to core the existing roof to find out all the material that's necessary, so we felt it best to go with an architect and someone's going to manage the project as we go along. So that's just doing a flat roof over the fire department.
Is that inclusive of, he's going to manage that whole process as well?
My understanding, yes, he's going to inspect it
Yeah.
as well, yes.
Those stone roofs are trying.
Actually, it's not only the fire department, we have a flat roof.
We have one back here as well.
Office, above that area also.
We have two.
Yeah, so all the flat roofs.
And it's all the stone, the pebbles, right?
Okay, and 210, is that,
Is he gonna watch the other portion of for those same fees, or is that just solely that flat roof? Or is he gonna manage the whole project?
Yes, the flat roof.
Okay. All right.
and 210?
I just wanted to abstain from something.
Okay.
Does that mean that we can't include them with that discussion? Can't we include them in the consent agenda if we've just discussed it?
He's abstaining, but we could,
Let's go 210.
we could do 203.
Yeah,
I think you could know your abstention.
You
if
can
you
note your
intend,
abstention.
so we do them all
Okay.
by consent.
okay, then we'll do them all by consent, and it will be Councilman Smith and Councilwoman Bucci for the consent agenda, 203 through 212, with Councilman Leeds abstaining from 210, and I will be abstaining from 203.
Hold on one sec.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, who did you assign that to?
Councilman Smith and Councilwoman Bucci.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we will now open the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any topic, we ask that you please come up, state your name and address for the record, and observe a 5-minute limit per speaker.
Hello, my name is Mike Wallace. I live at 3 Surrey Avenue, and I have nothing to complain about. I'm asking for your help. I don't know how many are familiar with the east of Shore Road between Mill Road and Rosedale Avenue section. I know Mr. Utz is. We have a small graveyard that's there. Recently, it's been bothering me for probably a year and a half, 2 years. Recently, it just made the Sentinel or the Press, I forget which periodical, that it was there. And what's sad is the sign is on the ground, and I believe I've seen the city cut the property. So what I'm looking for is a place to start. I don't know where to start. To get this, is for Jeremiah Leeds, if anybody doesn't know, where to get this fixed up. So I know with all the things you got going on, this is pretty trivial, but I think it looks awful. So they have, and I don't know if Greg has any input on this, but, or excuse me, Councilman DeWeese. There's a sign there that appears county-like, but it's so worn off that I can't tell whether that's a county seal at the top or not. You remember what it looks
I
like?
am not, but I will look at it
We don't
first thing
own it.
tomorrow morning.
I can look it up, but
And,
it's
I mean, I've
just
seen
come up
It's a new
before, we don't
sign,
own
a
it.
new post, and it has some makeshift cinder block steps that somebody put there. I mean, I think they've been there since I was a child, in that fashion. I don't know if we take those away and just leave it a knoll or a little hill or whatever you call it. And I'd just like to see it fixed up, and I don't know where to start, and I'd be glad to help with that endeavor if anybody
I'll
Well-
meet
wants to.
with Quinn first thing tomorrow morning, and we'll take a look at it and see what can be done.
Well, I don't think we own it, so first we want to see who,
Yeah, we don't own it.
Right, that's what I don't.
that's
know.
our first step, we'll find out who owns
County
it.
does?
I think it's owned privately.
So
If you
that,
give me a second, I can look it up.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, we can look that up and then,
Like Councilman,
And
I'm
that-
sure you know, you're my neighbor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it needs to be fixed.
yeah, and then we would take it from there. Yeah, I mean, anything we,
Okay, is there anybody that wants to be first contact for that, like Councilman Deweese, or for me? Because I want to follow up on it, to make sure it gets done.
It's fine, you can call me.
yeah, anything that we can, yeah, anything we can do, we'll, yeah, I mean,
Okay,
certainly if anything we are going to do on it, we would need permission from the owners, I mean.
sure. I can't believe it's
Correct.
privately owned. It seems
Yeah.
like county dealio to me, but, I'd also like to congratulate the winners for the election, and I'd also like to thank Councilman Utz for his service.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
Good job.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Good evening.
good evening.
Joan Brennan, 116 Dolphin Avenue. I will help you with that, by the way. Ms. Joan, I'll give you my phone number. Not that I have any responsibility towards it, but because I help run the cultural committee for the city, and I will talk to Mary and this gentleman and see what we can do. Because we are part of the history of this town, which is kind of why I came up here, because I felt like I really needed the opportunity to say thank you to Paul for his words tonight and all of the things that he's done for the last couple of years. I'm sure he'll be reelected at some point. But I do want to bring up the fact that my house was the one that received the summons. And it was a certified letter that came from the chief. And I feel like if I'm not working, I'm working for the city of Northfield. Not that anybody is asking for any special behavior or, coming from anybody. I don't, the mayor came over to me and was saying something to me at the election because I was working the polls. And I really didn't even want to respond to him because I felt like it was just a sheer slap in the face to me. I live on a street, it's county owned, even though it's in the city of Northfield. You can't park on the street. I do have a separate driveway on the other side, but I really felt like somebody could have just knocked on the door and say, hey, you know, there's an ordinance here that you can't park on your grass, but I didn't realize that you could get a punch list and stop at Wawa and hand it over to a council member and get all your stuff fixed if you didn't like what was going on. Had I known that, I would have met with Paul, and I would have met with Frank Perry, and who else was on the council at the time, and had my punch list worked on. Because that's really not the way it's supposed to be done. I would love to see the punch list, because I think I was the only one on that punch list that he has that received a summons to my house that I had to, well, I didn't actually sign for it, but it did come to my house. It's so strange that, you know, people have, it's just left such a bad taste in my mouth. And it disturbs me to think that when I'm not at work, I can tell you this much, I spend at least 25 to 30 hours a week for working for the city of Northfield. My parents lived here their whole life, my family lived here, my dad ran his business in Northfield for, you know, decades. I still have brothers and sisters that live in the city of Northfield. We all pay taxes. Nobody's asking for anything. Never. My brother was a police officer. He was a detective here in Northfield. We all did our part to be good citizens. All of us. And what disturbs me the most is, like I said, I didn't realize that we could go and backdoor stuff that we didn't like at Wawa. Had I known that, I would have asked for special treatment. Never done that before. I was not raised that way. I would not ask any of you to do anything special for me. Never done that before. That's not how things work. And I'm disturbed at this point enough to think this town is, it's fractured in a way that that behavior is acceptable to some of you people that are on city council. It disturbs me that there is not going to be one Democrat on this council, because all of you worked as a team. Not saying that's a bad thing at all.
No, we're here for,
But you know,
party
there
does not-
should be other people on council that at least can communicate, knock on your door and say, hey, this is what's going on. Disturbing
I don't
to me.
disagree with you, and I'll assure you,
Unfortunately,
political party should
when
not matter once we are up
I
here.
sat at the table and working the polls for hours, okay? And the mayor comes over to me and says, I didn't know anything about it, which is an outright lie. Eric didn't know anything about it. That was a lie. I mean, come on. You know, like, let's get back to the facts here. That is not the truth, okay? And I would like to just say how disturbed I am. I haven't said
understand.
one word to any of you about this.
That's
And guess what?
That's the first I'm hearing about it.
I'm the only one on the city, on that street that received a summons. The only one. There are 12 cars on that street right now that are parked on somebody's grass. My husband went around all weekend and took pictures. They're all over the city. If you can't park on the street, is it fair that I have to then jockey my cars every day of the week? It's not fair. I mean, believe it or not, everybody that lives on this group has parking in front of their house, I'm positive. And you don't have to do that. But you know what? God forbid, somebody left their car out on the street and got hit. Whose fault would that be? I mean, their traffic is a nightmare as it is.
Thank you. I mean,
So-
I appreciate how
Listen,
troubled you are.
I am very disturbed. Then guess what? I didn't say one word. I didn't call anybody. I didn't call you.
Call me.
I wanted to call Erland and blast him, but you know what? I just felt like, as much as I do, it's not enough. It's never going to be enough.
And we,
Disturbing. Disturbing.
I'm sorry that
I don't
you
think
feel that
are.
way. You don't think I am?
No,
I'm sorry, I
I'm
am.
done. I'm done.
I'm honest with you, Joan, and I appreciate what you do for the town.
You don't realize what I do for the town. You don't know all the things that I do for this town. You don't.
Please.
I'm not gonna say anymore.
Mr. Wallace, the graveyard property is actually owned by the estate of Ella Collins. So we have a starting place. We'll see where that leads us.
Presume you have a mailing address.
We get that from we can get that from the records, from the property records and see if we can.
Mary, is it taxed or tax exempt?
It's tax exempt as a cemetery.
It's a small cemetery, so it would be a nonprofit and tax exempt.
I don't know how the sign got there. I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know how the sign got there in the first place. But then they got there once, so we said we could do it again.
I believe some family members used to maintain it. I remember, and this is Facebook, so not necessarily super accurate, but I do remember a family talking about their loved one was buried there and that they had something to do with the sign.
Again, I've seen the city, I guess, cut it out of necessity before, so I can't remember.
Maybe.
Let me talk to Quinn and find out if he has any information about that, then
Yeah,
I'll
there may-
talk with you.
There may be an agreement already in, they may already have some type of
If
agreement.
we can't do anything, it's great, but considering there was something there, I was just hoping to get,
Oh, it would be nice to
it's just a
spruce it up.
piece of history there.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Chief Newman, Northfield Police. I just want to clarify a couple of things in regard to what Mr. Wood said, and the lady behind me here. I was given a notice of a violation forwarded to me from the mayor, Councilman Leeds. So to suggest anything other than that anybody didn't know about this is not true, and I can prove it to you. There's an email trail. Second, a summons or a citation or whatever was never issued. Never. So to suggest anything other than that is wrong. And to make it worse and put it up on Facebook is wrong. That's where it all winds up. There was a notice of violation given. It's the same way I do them all the time. Okay? I write a letter out, it goes certified. Quite frankly, I don't have the time to go knock on everybody's door. If I can drive by the property and look and see what's going on, to get a notice of violation. This is the violation, this is the code, please fix it. It is not a citation, it is not a summons, it is not hauling anybody into court. It's just telling them there's a violation and asking them to clear it up. I usually give them 10 days. So I get a lot of these a week. Majority of them are signs that are flashing open and closed. I probably get a dozen of them. Okay, I get ones with signs with down here, with grass. I get signs that somebody's putting up a roof. So I have to address all these, and usually I address them, document them, and address them in writing. This way there's a paper trail, because then they can't come back to me and say that I swept it under the rug or buried it. So I just wanted to set the record straight. It was a notice of violation, it was not a summons.
Thank you, Chief.
And I did have a very candid conversation, I believe with your husband, thought it was a positive conversation, and I thought I kind of explained to him that, he already told me he took care of it and addressed the problem, and it was gonna be over. And that's the way I thought we left it.
Is there anyone from Zoom?
There is not.
Okay. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, the public session is now closed. We have a motion to adjourn the work session.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And let me know when we can start the regular meeting.
Was that Deweese and Leeds, please?
Yes. We'll let you know when it's not Denise.
Ready, sir.
Okay.
Good evening. This is the regular session of Northfield City Council, November 15th of 2022. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, in the Press of Atlantic City on January 8th of this year. May I have a flag salute led by Council President Pro Tem
All
Denise
rise. Salute, please. The pledge of allegiance.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Asked to remain standing. I think I have a moment of silence for former Chief Kroger, passed away just recently. Thank you.
Roll call, Mrs. Bucci? Here. Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mr. Leeds?
Here.
Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Utz?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here.
And Mr. Chow. Mr. President?
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'd like to move to dispense with the reading of the minutes. They've been distributed, the minutes from October 25th, 2022 and November 2nd, 2022. They've distributed to council and are on file in the office of the municipal clerk.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Mayor is not here. We'll move right to the engineer's report.
Thank you, Council President. I prepared my report last week, only a couple items on the report. We have a bid opening on December 2nd for the slip lining phase 2 project. Also on December 1st, there's a budget meeting with the ACUA. Sorry. With the ACUA for the budget, to discuss the next year budget. Apparently, we were allocated X amount of gallons this year. We're not gonna use all of them, so the credits will be reflected next year, so we have to get all those bills. And next year, we'll get credit for what we are using. At the rate we are going, we'll be probably about 80% of our allocation, 85% stops. So there'll be a nice credit for next year for our budget for the ACUA. And going forward, hopefully will be the case on every year. The other thing is our 2021 road program is completed. We're just working on the budget item. We are going to be under budget or under contract. It's going to cost us less than enough for the project on the construction end of it and also on our services. Our services were less than we anticipated also. So all this will be finalized next month, the meeting for the final change order. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. At this time, we'll open the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any topic may do so at this time. Ask that you please come up, state your name and address for the record, and observe a 5-minute limit per speaker.
I'm gonna see mine blow off.
No one in Zoom.
Okay, seeing no one, the public session is now closed. May I have a motion for the consent agenda for resolutions 203 through 2012?
I'd like to make the
Or
necessary
two-
motion to adopt resolutions 203-2022 through 212-2022 by consent agenda.
Second?
I would just note for the record, Councilman Palestina's abstention on 203 and Councilman Leeds' abstention on 210.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And may I have a motion to approve the approve the resolutions by consent agenda?
I make the motion to adopt the consent agenda for 203-2022 through 212-2022.
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Bucci?
Yes.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mr. Leeds?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of the consent agenda with abstentions noted for Council President Palestina on Resolution 203 and Councilman Leeds on Resolution 210.
May I have a motion for the introduction of ordinance 12-2002.
I'd like to make the necessary motion for the introduction of ordinance 12-2002.
Second?
Hold, please.
Ordinance 12 of 2022 is an ordinance amending bond ordinance number 4 of 2019, adopted on March 5th of 2019 by the City of Northfield in the County of Atlantic, New Jersey, to provide for the payment of the required down payment not previously appropriated in the original bond ordinance. This is the introduction. There will be no public input, and the ordinance will be published in full in the Press of Atlantic City on November 19th. It is presently posted in the lobby of City Hall as well as on the municipal website. Any member of the public who requests a copy of the ordinance will be provided with one free of charge in the office of the municipal clerk during regular business hours. There will be a second reading, a public hearing, after which the matter will be considered for final adoption on November 29th of 2022.
Thank you. Any questions on that? I mean, it's a down payment. It'll reduce ultimately, when we do bond that equipment. Okay. Roll call?
Mrs. Bucci?
Yes.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mr. Leeds?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the introduction of ordinance 12 of 2022.
Okay, we'll do payment of bills before our executive session.
Ready for,
May make a motion for payment of bills?
make motion for payment of bills of $3,054,503.23.
Second?
Roll call?
Mrs. Bucci?
Yes.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mr. Leeds?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for payment of bills.
And meeting notices.
Our next meeting, and my second to last, will be November 29th, 2022.
You sound pretty happy.
Okay, may I have a motion to
Nope, hold on.
adjourn to, wait, after Mary says this.
Sorry, so,
For the members of the public that are here, including the young man from mainland, and the engineer, council will be moving into a closed session, and when that occurs, you would all need to leave the room. The doors will be closed. In Zoom, the audio and video will be paused. For the duration of the executive session, when that session is concluded, the doors will be opened back up. Any public who is still here will be welcomed back into the room. Zoom audio and video will be reactivated, and a statement would be made for the record. So the resolution is number 212 of 2022, which was just adopted as part of the consent agenda, providing for an executive session not open to the public in accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, which is NJSA 10:12B4, regarding contract negotiations between the City of Northfield and the Northfield Professional Firefighters Association, local number 2364. We are required to set forth as much information as possible for the public as to the subject matter to be discussed, as well as provide for them the amount of time that can be expected to elapse before the non-public minutes can be disclosed, and for that, I will defer to the solicitor for comment. Once that's all done is when everyone has to leave and the doors will shut.
Thank you, Mary. As authorized by Resolution 212 of 2022, the Council for the City of Northfield will enter into an executive session at this time not open to the general public in accordance with provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Matters to be discussed are negotiations between the city and local 2364, specifically the terms and conditions of a memorandum of agreement between the city and that local, an extension for a temporary work schedule, i.e. 24-hour shifts, until some time beyond that already agreed upon. Council will keep minutes of the executive session as required by law, which will be available for public inspection when required and permitted by law. At this time, the time for those public inspection and the release of those minutes is unknown. We will return to council chambers when the executive session is complete for a statement for the record. It is not anticipated that the city will be taking any official action, but that remains to be seen. I believe we're staying here at the dais for the executive session.
Good night.
Here,
And, you don't have to come back if you don't.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Typically, they don't, so you can, you're good.
Paul's locking them in.
We're sealed in. Thank you.
Okay, so, hold on one second, please.
Yes. Can I open doors now?
Yes, sir? And we're back.
Ready?
Yep.
Council has concluded its executive session authorized by Resolution 212 of 2022, which was not open to the general public in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Discussion was had concerning negotiations between the city of Northfield and Local 2364 pertaining to the extension of the 24-hour shift agreement that's currently in place. Council did keep minutes of the executive session as required by law, which will be approved by council and promptly made available for public inspection when required and permitted by law. Time frame for that is unknown. Council will not be taking any official action tonight, but it is anticipated that some official action may be taken next meeting. That's it.
Thank you.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
I was gonna
Aye.
Aye. Your butt tonight.
No, Eric is the second.